You're watching Open Agenda. Here's our host, Joe White.
Welcome to Open Agenda. I'm your host, Joe White. In the studio with me is Mr. Mike Goldberg from Del Mar. Mr. Jim Atkins, thanks for coming from Mardella.
Yeah.
So we were at the county council meeting last week. We covered that. We even had a chance to sit down with Bonnie Ennis, from the Board of Education. So we thought we'd bring in, the utility players, as he's been called, Mr. Dave Ennis from the District 3 of the city or the county council. I want to get a sense from just what he's seen in his first 3 or 4 months. I definitely want to talk about the golf tournament that he is the chairman of to help fund middle school sport. But I want to see, is there some things that you want to find out, what he's seen in his first 3 months?
Well, I think one of the things would be he was on the council many years ago. I don't know how many. But what kind of changes has he seen? What's it like now versus what it was like then? Is it civil? Is it more intense? Just what's the situation now that he's got all this time in between his stints on the council? How does he feel that it's different?
Mike, you've been at some of the meetings where he's asked follow-up questions to some of the budget proposals. Some of we're talking about the landfill. I mean, his ability to go through and articulate numbers that are actually comparing apples to apples has seemed impressive.
Cell 7, we're expediting the best we can. Was it in fact way behind the timeline?
I actually was reviewing a letter that I thought about putting into this slideshow. There was an authorization to proceed in October of 2022 for Cell 7. Yeah, for that.
Authorization to proceed.
Well, one thing I'd say about Councilman Ennis is that he has a business background.
The sanitary district is going to be something that comes up, and the county council is supposed to be selecting people on that. At the same time, you're probably talking about one of the longest and most expensive projects that's going to be on these taxpayers' minds for beyond our years.
Right.
I mean, our kids will still be working and working through the sanitary district 50, 60 years from now. I'm really interested because his involvement in bringing in experts and community have allowed him to really get down, to drill down to an expert level, even areas that he's not the expert himself.
Yeah. Well, and you can't, when you're a politician, a council member, or an executive, the people don't expect you to know everything, but they expect you to bring people in that do know what you need to know and lead you and guide you in making the decisions. The sanitary district is going to be a great help for a lot of people in the Salisbury area that don't have enough property to redo their septic system. But there are going to be added costs that they are going to incur every month for as long as they own that home.
Well, let's bring him in. And Mike, would you stick around? Because after we have a chance to speak with Councilman Ennis, I'd like to bring you back on and just find out a little bit about what you thought he said. So stay with us. When we come back, we're going to bring in Councilman Ennis and find out how he feels about his first 3 months in office. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Open Agenda. In the studio with us is Councilman Dave Ennis. Thank you for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
Mr. Jim Atkins, thanks for sticking around.
Sure.
So you're the newest member of the county council, but in some ways you're also the oldest member of the county council, right?
I never thought about it in that way, but yes, 25 years ago, I was also by appointment served for 2 years, 2000, 2001, and so 25 years ago. And I'll have to say there's a lot of contrast between when I was on the first time and what I'm seeing right now.
So you're the councilman from District 3.
Correct.
You're finishing the term that was initially occupied by Shane Baker.
Yes.
And he moved to Delaware, so
Yep.
I had to find somebody else to come in, and it was you.
Yep. I refer to myself as the utility player for the county. I get put in.
Well, if you're a good relief pitcher, the Orioles might need you.
Well, sawing you up real quick.
I'm not sure who can help them right now. But anyway, very happy to be here. I like the council that I'm serving with very much. We're diverse. We have different opinions, and we're going to disagree, but we're always civil. And
Well, and talking about sports, one of the things I really want to spend some time talking to you is you're very active with helping youth sports at the middle school level.
Yes. The involvement really comes from, I was actually the startup chairman of the Wycomico Education Foundation, which was in 2018, which was partially initiated by Greater Salisbury Committee, which I'm a member of. So I served for 3 or 4 years, and then turned it over to Susan Purnell Kuhn's Jewelers, and now Michelle Wright. They called me back to help with a strategic plan this past spring, so I said they kind of pulled me out of retirement. But because of that, recognizing the importance, Dr. Stauffer made mention of middle school sports and what a benefit that could be to students in this county, it really intrigued me. So being a glutton for punishment, I signed up to chair the golf tournament that's going to be a fundraiser in supporting that very cause.
Well, so let's talk specifics of the golf tournament. It's on October 3rd.
Yep.
It's a Friday.
Correct.
Out at Green Hill.
Yes.
And you're still taking teams signing up, right?
Absolutely. We've just started getting our momentum. I think we've got about 6 or 8 teams that have signed up so far. Our goal is to have 18. This is our inaugural, first year, so we'll see how it turns out. But I'm really hopeful and appreciate this recognition by this program to hit our goal of 18. And we're looking to raise somewhere between $30,000-$40,000 for middle school sports. And really, that program is still in its infancy, but there's a lot we can do to help move things along as it pertains to that activity.
What kind of sports are the middle school students playing?
Yep, flag football, cross country, volleyball, basketball, soccer, and track were all started last year. This year, they're adding cheerleading and bocce ball, which I thought was unusual and different. But
well, getting back to your golf tournament a little bit, I mean, you're looking for 18 teams.
Yep.
Are you looking for sponsors?
Yes, thank you very much.
Tell us a little bit more about what
Thank
it
you,
takes
Jim.
to put this on. Yes.
We the teams are at $600 a piece. First off, which is pretty reasonable for a team of 4. You get the cart and the fee, of course. But we are looking for sponsors, and that ranges anywhere from the top sponsor for $5,000. You get 2 teams, and you get a lot of recognition. Right on down the pike, 3,000 is these are the name of the sponsors: All-Star, Team Captain 2,000, Coaches Circle 1,000. So many different opportunities as far as levels of sponsorship, whole sponsor 200, and or just field a team. But I appreciate your asking that question very much, because we do want that level of support, and we really need that level of sponsorship to make this successful.
And I can tell you, as a former golf course superintendent, you don't have to be good at golf to go play in this. So,
No. And
in fact, you could be very terrible.
Yeah, well, and as you know, it's a full scramble.
Yeah.
So it's best ball. So it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And they are really a lot of fun. And Green Hill is a nice course. I played there as a kid growing up. It's just a beautiful course. They've got it in great condition. So encourage anybody who just wants to come out and have a fun day to please sign up. There'll be lunches available. There'll be adult and other types of beverages available.
So what has been probably your one surprise as the newest council member? I mean, what's something that did surprise you?
Yeah, to contrast from when I was on 25 years ago, and it's 2 areas really. One is the intensity of some of the issues, and it might just be my dumb luck when I landed here. We just got partially through solid waste.
Yeah.
And putting in legislation to impose some penalties for out of county, as we probably, or anybody who's watching this topic knows. It's already taking a very positive effect, so I understand from Mr. Corey. But the other one that, and I know you'll appreciate this, and a shout out to actually Open Agenda Show and PAC 14, the amount of transparency and public scrutiny there is now versus when I was on the council in 25 is very pronounced. The council sessions were not videoed at that time, as one just glaring example.
Right.
But the amount of public engagement, which I think is a great thing, is very different. So it's kind of interesting. 25 years later, you've got somebody who's got that perspective, but those 2 things, like I say, are very very different, and the intensity of the the issues that we're dealing with. We've got sanitation, which I know you just spoke about.
Yeah.
Several others that are very different.
Well, one thing I will say in my observations from watching you ask good questions. A lot of the council members ask good questions, but I can definitely tell yours are coming from a business background.
Yeah.
One in particular, at the last council meeting, they decided to fund a new generator out at the nursing home, which it needs to be done. I mean, you can't be a landlord and not have those things. But the types of questions you were asking as far as the funds, and they were requesting 200,000 when the estimate's 160. Those capital funds stay in that capital improvement fund.
Yeah.
That then become at the discretion really of the executive. But that's something that you're questioning at this point, right?
That and many things, really. I think that the amount of overall scrutiny with capital projects. Again, I don't mean to be. I'm still in a learning stage, so I've got to go back and make sure that I'm stating things accurately, or whatever the case. But the funding aspect that you just mentioned and the leftover funds is a question, and it's something that we just need to have those things raised so that we know and the public knows what's actually happening, and whether the money that was allocated is going towards the original initiative or goal.
One term I've heard you use is a sinking fund.
Yes.
So can you explain that? Because I don't want to assume I know, but I would like to know more about it.
The first and best example I can give, and it was when I was on the council before, excuse me, Mr. Raj Sharma was the Public Works Director, and he comes in one day to the council, and he said, we need a new cell for whichever cell that was. It was probably one of the early numbers. We're on 7 now. And he said, it's going to cost $2.5 million, but you don't have to appropriate any money. It was already accounted for in a sinking fund. It's basically just a savings program.
Okay.
And if it's done properly, and I don't know the mechanics of it back when he did it, but I assume that they were looking forward to see, predicting what the capital expenditures were going to be, especially the cells, which are the big ticket item, spreading that out over time. What's the life? It's a simple calculation. And then boiling that down to a per ton cost, adding that onto the operational cost of the tipping fee, so that the tipping fee will already be automatically saving up the money that you need to invest in the next level of capital.
Because for cell 7, you've appropriated for bonds. So we're going to borrow money that we're going to pay out over 20 years to fund a cell that will last 6 to 7 years.
Yes, and that really hurt my feelings. Just to think about what a nice program that we had. And I know there were financial difficulties in the middle. Joe Holloway pointed out at some point in time, the county actually borrowed money from that contingency fund. You may be aware it's
the enterprise fund of the landfill. Yes.
Yeah. So that's going the wrong direction as far as I'm concerned. And to whatever extent, it may take time, but for my purposes, I would like to see us reinstate that. If you think long term, and I wish the county would think longer term, and as far as planning goes, there's nothing you can't accomplish with time and giving good thought processes. But back to the sinking fund, and as it relates especially to the solid waste, that I hope we get back on track, and I hope we have that in place so that it's not a panic time, or that we're having to pay the extra interest cost for bonding.
Well, I think one of the examples of that sticks into my mind very recently, and I probably right about the time you got on the council, it kind of corresponds in there, is the dredging material at Sharps Point. The council funded $300,000 a year to put money back to move the dredge material. It wasn't spent. $300,000 each year over 7 or 8 years. So now when the executive branch comes to the council and they need to move this soil, they want the council to give them $2.1 million to move 100,000 cubic yards of soil. There's no mention of the $300,000 that they've given them for 6 or 7 years. And when that gets mentioned, well, we don't want to spend that. we want you to give us 2.1, but we want to keep that 1.6 over in this pot in case we need it somewhere. Well, why'd you give it to them if they weren't going to use it?
It seems that there's been kind of a trend recently, as far as I can tell, of overruns and unexpected costs. Now we're looking at needing to spend, I can't recall what it is, $2 or $3 million for the new Verizon building for renovations.
Well, you may not need to spend it. It was what was requested by the executive's office.
Well, good point there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. A small remodeling job has turned into a major
one, which, honestly, it should have been thought about before. And another thing that's changed, and again, I don't mean to be so critical, but looking back, the person who headed up CIP was Ted Shea, the deputy director at that time. And my point of saying that is, I think it falls entirely under a finance department, and that's okay. And they're good at numbers, don't get me wrong. But I like having somebody who's got business management experience as well that can look at those projects and maybe think about asking, what's the total renovation going to cost from the very start?
Well, so we've covered this in the show. They did ask that.
This might be a question for the executive's office or Matthew. How about retrofitting, operational or whatever you want to call it?
I've not talked with an engineer or architect yet in regards to that, but the way it's structured, there's main concrete and steel structural columns throughout the building, so everything else is pretty much can be retrofitted as long as you don't mess with those integral structural pieces. So it should be easily retrofitted. It should be easily completed once we sit down and review about what space is needed and how it will be designed for efficient flow and activity.
They had numbers from back in January of 2024. In fact, we've presented that on the show. And the agent who presented it to the council and along with the executive's office did not have $2.7 million in the cost. In fact, it was billed as turnkey.
Personally, I think it's absolutely astronomical that we're asking for $2.7 million to do renovations on the building we spent about $4 million for. If we'd known that, we would have spent $7 million for a brand new building.
And I think that's been one of our goals of this show is to, hey, listen, everybody makes mistakes, but you can't revise history.
Yeah.
You can learn from it, but if you're just going to pretend like that wasn't the case, then you're just bound to make that mistake.
And I think that's one of the most frustrating things as an outsider when you look at the budget. The budget says this year $210 million, plus or minus 10 cents here or there. And it's a balanced budget. We're going to take in $210 million and we're going to spend $210 million.
Right.
But now all of a sudden you've got all these projects for the past 3 years that were funded 3 years, 2 years ago, a year ago, that now we're going to spend that money to finish that project. Well, that's not in the budget.
Yeah.
So how do you have a balanced budget when you're spending past year's allocations and it's not included in the budget?
Yeah, that's a great point. That is a great point. And honestly, looking at the really big picture, as far as how is Wycomico financially? Now, we all know that there's a big surplus. I think it was $67 million, whatever the case. But I call it hidden liabilities. I think there's a lot of things out there coming our way.
Water and sewer.
Water, sewer, disparity grant. Is it going to be here forever?
Yeah.
Nothing's here forever.
We still have to fund the other part of Fruitland Primary.
Fruitland Primary, that's right. That's correct. Fire and EMS. I mean, you can go on down.
And the landfill expansion. Not this current cell, but when they cross Brick Hill Road.
And sanitary wastewater treatment should be funded by grant money entirely. The list goes on and on. And even though we have this surplus, being a business person, or I'm a very conservative and cautious in my business, and that's the attitude I'm bringing here to Wycomico County. I think we just really need to keep our eyes open. And again, looking at the future, trying to see what we have coming down the pike at us.
I sure do hope you keep asking the same types of questions you're asking. I do want to talk about the details one more time of the golf tournament. Because October 3rd, the weather's going to be beautiful that day.
It is going to be.
I looked it up.
It's going to be
75, sunny. And
you're using the same link that I'm using.
And a hurricane coming up the coast.
No.
Jim,
No.
please.
Maybe on the 6th, but you might as well go play golf.
We won't let that happen.
No, October 3rd.
Okay.
Team registration $600. The registration is at 9 o'clock. Shotgun start at 10. Prizes to be given out afterwards, and looking for as many sponsors as we can garner.
There's one other part of this. If you're a parent of a Wycomico County middle school student, make them play a sport. At least encourage them to try it, right?
Okay.
Because I mean, I grew up here just like you. And Jim, I mean, nothing's more prideful than putting your school shirt on, getting on a bus, and going and at least doing the best you can to beat down your rival schools. Right?
Yeah.
I like that idea. Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah.
Bonnie said in last week's meeting that last week's show that she did go to Bennett, so that we didn't agree there. But
well, we both did, so we might be in the same. But I was going to admonish you for having her on first, because as Jim pointed out, she is a hard act to follow, and I don't like to be second.
I'm going to tell you, we went ahead. We started at the top.
Yeah.
Then we were going
You're right about that.
Yeah.
That you did. That you did.
Well, thanks for your time today.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the recognition and helping us meet our goals and to help middle school sports start.
We'd like to have you back on in a few months.
Will do.
So. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Open Agenda. Mr. Mike Goldberg, thanks for coming back.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jim Atkins, thanks for sticking around.
Still here.
So it was a great conversation with Councilman Ennis. We got a chance to dive into a little bit of the process of his thinking, at least how he obtains the information that he uses to make decisions. What do you think about that?
I think he's very thorough in expecting numbers to come out and looking at. He's just not going to take somebody's word who's sitting in front of him and saying, "Well, we can do this and we got the money over here." He wants to know where the money's coming from, how it's being spent.
Well, he was not here in January of 2024. The rest of the council was, along with the executives team, when they were proposed the Verizon building out on Mount Herman Road as the new health department building. Yes. And the three of us have deep concerns about the final cost of this project, how it's being presented now, and the numbers potentially being manipulated. Mike, from a guy who comes from a commercial real estate background or due diligence on that side, you brought up the fact that the tenant improvements would never exceed 10% of the cost of the building, which was about $3.65 million. But the county executive's proposal is to spend $2.75 million in there. And I'm interested to see, do you think someone like Councilman Ennis who asked those types of questions, do you think he, even though he wasn't here 2 years ago, do you think he can get to the bottom of what should be spent there?
I think he can. One of the biggest reasons is he comes from a construction background, so he knows what it actually costs to get this stuff done, and he knows what the right ratios should be for an existing building that has no major flaws. Tenant improvements is not a complete interior retrofit. You're not taking it down to the studs and redoing everything, and the insight that he'll be able to bring to that, I'm very confident will work to everyone's benefit.
The interesting thing is you say 10% of the purchase price to remodel that building. Well, let's be generous. Let's give them 30% of the purchase price. We still will not have spent the money that the county took in with rent from the Verizon for them using all this. So, if we just took the money that the county earned by renting it back to Verizon and reinvested it, it wouldn't have cost the citizens anything.
But the finance director explained this. They just put that money in the general fund.
Yeah.
And we got a chance to ask Councilman Ennis about sinking funds. And this is something he's discussed openly. Again, it sounds great. It needs more scrutiny, but it's probably a good pathway.
Yes. Well, the general fund has the problem with the general fund is, in my view, it's like a funnel. Everything goes in the top and stuff drips out of the bottom. And, when you have ways of paying for things, but you spend that money on something else, then all of a sudden you've got to come back and say, well, I need money to do what we were going to do in the beginning with the nursing home.
Nothing against doing the generator for the nursing home. I'm sure that's a very necessary. From a broader sense, back in April and May during the budget season, you had work sessions with the executives finance team about the Hurdle building, the funds that you were planning to spend there, most notably going towards the Verizon building. Since then, publicly, we have not heard anything about the proposed $2.75 million that we were going to spend on the Verizon building. I know that was outside of what the council in general was looking to spend, but if we're going to start earmarking $200,000 here or there, the lease with Verizon runs out in October. It would be nice publicly to know what the taxpayers are going to be expected for improvements for the building. There was $200,000 that was set aside to renovate the Hurdle building, which is the current health department building. We have this new building, the Verizon building, that the county executives team has said needs $2.75 million. But the county council was asked by the executive's office to you take that $200,000 for the old building, use it to get a generator for the nursing home.
Right now, the current generator that we have does not, and Pate can talk to this more than I do, does not operate the full facility. The new generator that we are installing will operate the full facility, but the electrical box that we have to connect through can't handle that level of generator. And thus, we need to update the electrical system to be able to accept the generator so that the whole facility could be run on a generator if we would need to, which we hope we don't need to. Ultimately, in 2024, we made the decision to buy the Verizon building, and thus this money was set aside but not used for Hurdle because we made the decision to buy Verizon.
Or has the nursing home planned for like a sinking fund for major capital expenditures in the next 10 years, 5 years?
We have not looked at it in that regard. Could we? Yes, but we have not at this moment.
The kicker was the generator should only cost about $160,000, but it might be a little bit more.
Looks like the proposal's for just under $160,000. So if we allocate the $200 and it ends up at $160, what happens to the excess?
So at that point in time, it would be included in that list that we're going to do this fall. Again, instead of giving the exact dollar amount, because until they get in there and do the electrical work, could there be another small change order? We hope not.
But they went ahead and gave them the whole $200,000. And there was some questions about that. And the director of finance, Pam Olin, said that whatever's not spent will go into Department 32, which is unused capital improvements. And at that point, it can be used for anything. And or not anything, but a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Since this project had $200,000 in it, we're asking for the full $200,000 to be moved over. And as such, it would be included in when we receive the final bill, it would be included in the list of projects that could have excess funds that could be utilized for other things.
And then the taxpayers are going to be asked to go back and fund this other renovation.
But in too many cases, that money is going to be used without necessarily the oversight of the county council or of us tax-paying voters. Mm-hmm. So it hides the money. Look, anybody who's ever managed multiple projects, no matter what field you're in, you have to allocate the funds to that project. Once you start commingling funds, it is real easy to play games with that.
If you buy lottery tickets with your gas money, you're going to end up broken down on the side of the road.
Yes, and again, not pointing any fingers at anybody because I don't know what the people did or didn't do. But it's the thoroughness of this project at the nursing home which should be at question. They bought a generator for the nursing home. This $160,000 they need is the nursing home electrical system will not handle this new generator.
Okay.
So they have to redo all the wiring, all the breakers, all the electrical work in that, and they need $160,000. Okay, so they didn't know this when they bought the generator, that generator. I mean, that's like going out and buying a 30-foot boat when you own a Ford Pinto. Well, when the boat gets delivered to you, you're going to have to go inside and tell your wife, I need a 1-ton dually to pull this truck. And that's what they've done with this. You can't tell me that they didn't know when they bought that generator that somebody didn't say,
Well,
this building can't support this generator.
he talked about transparency, and that's going to be our mission, because the Verizon building, that lease runs out at the end of September, so about 30 days
Yep.
away. So there's going to have to be another meeting there, and when it does, we're going to cover it. So thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for coming out.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for watching this episode of Open Agenda. We'll be back next week with another new episode.
County executive's budget has increased from 2024 to now over $100,000.